Yeah! Now we're going to paddle for quite a while here. This is really beautiful. It is quiet. We have a beautiful, beautiful trip down to Middle Bridge.
Nice.
Isn't this wild? And I mean that literally. Look at how wild this is. I mean, isn't it unbelievable to be in a scene like this that hasn't changed really since the 19th century, and to think how close we are to Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, the D.C. metropolitan area, Baltimore, all these massive urban centers. I mean, we're only, 70, 80 minutes from those locations. And look at this. Look at the wildness of this.
How I would contrast this too with the Potomac, which is loud and a lot more structures around it. This is a truly, like you said, 19th century experience. Sure, I've got a phone on me. We've got life preservers and a aluminum boat, but otherwise, we get something pretty close.
Well, and this is again a good example for us to talk about preservation. This just didn't happen. I mean, Mother God and Father God create this for all of us, but it was up to humans to try to protect it. And look what we got in front of us, Gary. See that? Isn't that lovely?
Super lovely. And I'll say that Washington County, Maryland, like you said, it doesn't happen by accident. This isn't all federal government or the trust or Save Historic Antietam Foundation. There have been a lot of locals here preserving some of the natural sites around the Antietam Battlefield that helps retain the flavor here.
Absolutely.
Character.
Yeah, I mean, as you well know, Gary, and as many trust members know, the Antietam Battlefield is the largest Civil War preserve in the United States, almost 9,000 acres. And most of it is not federal. The battlefield itself is about 3,300 acres. Wow. Notice that we don't even have dirt anymore. We got rock, we got limestone. There's no way you're crossing here. And I mean, look at how the Antietam has carved this canyon. You really get a sense of the canyon in this part of the creek. You really get a sense of the canyon. And you really get a sense of how difficult it would be to cross. I mean, Lee had the right idea. Keep in mind, General Lee never saw this place. He'd never been here. And there's no such thing as United States Geological Survey, so there's no topographic map. So he doesn't know how wide the creek is, how deep the creek is. He doesn't know where the crossing points of the creek are. He has no idea what this is like, but he knows it's water, and he knows it's a body of water between himself and George McClellan. And so look at this. If the whole creek is this kind of cliff formation, well, Lee's got a fortress. I mean, there's no way to get across. He's got a fortress. Unfortunately, the creek's not a bulwark in its entirety like that. All right, you gonna do it, Gary? He's going in.
Oh, he couldn't stand it.
He's going in.
Here's the 8-year-old in him.
There's the inner child, man. Hey, don't forget to take the hat off, Gary. We don't want to get the hat wet.
Oh, get the hat wet,
Gary.
We do
not want to get
wash
the hat
that
wet.
hat. You've needed to wash it for 20 years now. You got a flat rock and then it's going deep. All right. Ready? Yeah! Woo! Woo! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
Exhilarating.
Yeah.
Exhilarating.
As close to a baptism as we could have today.
Woo!
Living on the edge, I tell you, Dennis. Living on the edge.
Way to go, Gary. I think this is a good place to talk about how General Lee did not expect General McClellan to come across this creek. General Lee has his own engineers. He's got his own pontoneers. As many of you have often heard me say, the eyes of the Army are not the cavalry. The eyes of the Army are the topographic engineers. And this is why you use and need topographic engineers. They're the first to survey a battlefield or a potential battlefield. And then they come back and report what their survey shows them.
And that would have been Hotchkiss?
Maybe on the Confederate side, he might have been a part of that. Yes, the map makers, the people that typically would go out and take a look at the terrain and come back to report to the commanding officer and say, here are your options. So General Lee actually has a good option here, meaning that this creek is defensible as long as the enemy stays on the other side of the creek. And I think if General Lee had anticipated that McClellan would not come across the Antietam, and then McClellan himself would use the Antietam as his own position of defense, i.e., General Lee, I dare you to come across this creek and get me, then that would fit right into General Lee's plan. Because as long as McClellan is on the east bank of the Antietam, which is off to our left, Robert E. Lee has a clear path into Pennsylvania, all the way into Pennsylvania, because this creek goes all the way into Franklin County, Pennsylvania. Franklin County, for those of you that may not know, that's where Greencastle, Pennsylvania is, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. And so Lee literally could have conducted the invasion using the creek to support his flank, to protect his flank. But this is all based on the assumption that McClellan doesn't come across the creek, that McClellan decides to go into a defensive posture, and McClellan uses the creek to protect himself. And it would make sense. I mean, keep in mind that George McClellan's under enormous pressure to ensure that the United States Capitol is not injured, that the United States Capitol is completely protected. So the very fact that McClellan comes across this creek potentially opens up access points back door to Washington. So it would make a lot of sense that McClellan would just stay on the east bank of the Antietam. He protects approaches to Washington that way, and basically he invites General Lee to come attack him, and McClellan would have an excellent position of defense. Well, unfortunately for General Lee, that anticipation does not become reality. McClellan, in this case, does not cooperate and stay on the east bank, and he comes across, as we've discovered, and that completely foils Lee's plan and blocks his invasion route.
I don't think people think of it that way. Excellent, Dennis. You're always doing that, making people think about something they know or think they know in a different way.
You know, Gary, the greatest power we have is thinking. And isn't it sad that too many of us, including you and me, sometimes don't think enough?
Yes, such as some people may say when I decided to take a bath in a little waterfall freshet earlier.
You needed that bath. You were starting to stink.
Luckily, the camera can't yet provide that for the viewer.
The camera can't pick up odor. But I happen to be downwind. I don't have any choice in the matter.
You've let off my true secret, Dennis, is my offensive scent.
It could be that hat. Maybe the hat's just been through so many campaigns that it can't get rid of the smell anymore.
After a good summer battle anniversary, I confess that you're correct. Maybe not about the other stuff. Look at this beautiful sycamore.
Look at that sycamore. Isn't that? Look at that architecture. Kris, hey Kris, make sure you get that sycamore tree. Look at that thing. How in the world does anything grow and live like that? That is a masterpiece of art.
It could be a Ford, you know.
Yeah, it would be a good Ford. What a piece of architecture. Oh my goodness. For those of you who don't know, that's called a sycamore tree. That is just an amazing, incredible piece of nature. Wow, you are so beautiful. Don't come down. Not a good time to come down. This is McClellan's side of, look at that. That's McClellan's side of the creek now. A while ago, we saw that type of formation on Lee's side of the creek. This is McClellan's side. So McClellan, this reinforces my point. The Antietam Creek, if George McClellan had chosen, was an outstanding position of defense for him and the Army of the Potomac. Look at that. I mean, that is an earthwork, a natural earthwork that is just impassable and impossible. But turn to your right. Turn to your right. Now look at Lee's side of the creek. Lee's side, it's a complete reversal of what we had earlier. When we were a little bit further upstream, just beyond Prize Ford, General Lee's side was the steep bluff, the steep slope, the cliff. And so the creek changes its configuration. It's not even, it's not equal. Sometimes, as we see here, one side of the creek is much higher than the other side of the creek, very imbalanced. And then sometimes it switches off between east and west in terms of what the elevation is. And so, again, this creek is a barrier. And either army could use it as a barrier or as a position to protect itself. The big issue is, how do we cross it? And of course, the bridges were built by Washington County, by the citizens of Washington County, paid for by the citizens of Washington County as infrastructure projects in the 1820s and 1830s. The bridges we're seeing today are original. They are not reconstructed. And these bridges, built out of native limestone, cost originally anywhere from $1,400 to $2,300. What a great infrastructure investment it was by the citizens of this county, taking advantage of the natural resources in this county to get across this creek. This creek's a barrier. And notice that we have seen no more fords. The creek is very deep, relatively deep here. There's very little current here compared to where we were earlier. You would not call this swift current. If we weren't paddling here, it would take a long time to go down this section.
And you said 30 structures?
Originally 30 bridges built between about 1825 and 1860.
So something you said, Dennis, too, yet another thing I've never really thought of before is this idea that George McClellan, while he's thinking offensively, going after Lee, he's also thinking defensively. This idea of bringing his troops up here, holding the Second Corps on the east side of the creek until he see how things develop. People that learn about Antietam nowadays in the last 10, 20 years might hear about a McClellan that isn't what they learned when they were younger. The man who had 50,000 reinforcements, the man who was bumbling and things like that. But it does seem to be true that McClellan was indeed inclined to think that his enemy was stronger than it was.
Well, there's no question that McClellan thought his enemy was stronger than it was, but even here at Antietam, I had the great privilege, Gary, I know you've been a big supporter of me as a writer and as an author, and the last book I did is called Antietam Shadows.
Yeah.
And in that book I have a chapter called The Linus Blanket, named after Linus of Peanuts fame.
Is there any other Linus blanket? There cannot be.
The blanket of Peanuts fame. And what I talk about are numbers and the mirage of numbers. But you know something here at Antietam? George McClellan, here comes the middle bridge. Let me finish this up. George McClellan convinced himself that he outnumbered Lee here because most of Lee's army was at Harper's Ferry. Most of Lee's army was at Harper's Ferry. So when this battle began, General George McClellan thought he actually had numbers to his advantage. Now, dead ahead of us is the middle bridge. Now, of course, this is a modern structure. If we were approaching this in 1862, we would see a three-arch stone bridge that looks almost identical to the upper bridge and the Burnside Bridge. This is the main turnpike that went from Boonesboro to your left, to our left, to Sharpsburg, to our right. We are very close to Sharpsburg here. We are less than a mile to our right from Sharpsburg on this turnpike. Now, when you look at a map, you would think that much of the Battle of Antietam would have been fought over this bridge because this was the central highway. I mean, this was the main access point across the creek. It was the main road. It was the main freeway into Sharpsburg coming from the east and west. But this bridge, the middle bridge, there's no fighting, hardly at all. The Federals will take high ground to our left on the 15th. Lee's on the ground to our right. And Lee is willing to give up this bridge because he's got lots of forces over here to his right. Meaning, yeah, give them the bridge, let them have the bridge, but if they try to advance from the bridge, I will clobber them. So Lee has strong artillery positions to our right. And if anybody comes across this bridge and then tries to raise their head on the high ground above it, they're going to get blasted. So Lee did not have to hold the bridge physically. He did not have to have his forces here on the bridge. He made no attempt to destroy the bridge. That would have been virtually impossible. They didn't have the means and the engineering to destroy a bridge like this in 1862. But it wasn't imperative that General Lee hold this bridge, because if the enemy comes across, Lee's got a stronger position to our east, 1 mile from here, on the high ground overlooking Sharpsburg and what we today call Cemetery Hill. That is where General Lee would make his position of defense. Now this bridge, what happened to the stone bridge? What happened to the original 3-arch bridge? Well, there was a thing in 1889. What was it, Gary? Kris, what happened in 1889?
Hugo?
Hugo, right, Hugo, you got it. Yeah, it was about as bad as Hugo. What happened in 1889?
Terrible storm.
Yep. Man, we've got great, no wonder you guys work for the American Battlefield Trust.
Do you hear
I
how...
have never been around such intelligent,
Did you
just
hear how
people.
general the question was, or the answer was, so that nobody could deny it, nor was it specific enough to be helpful?
That's what I said, you're just brilliant.
Yeah.
You're just brilliant. Impossible to deny. Does anybody know what happened in 1889?
Yes.
I bet many of our viewers know what happened in 1889.
One person on this canoe does.
I bet you our I'm going to give you a clue. I bet you our Pennsylvania viewers know what happened in 1889. Johnstown flood. Johnstown flood wiped this bridge out.
Wow.
Johnstown flood.
Wow.
Stone Bridge.
Never knew that.
Wiped
That's
out.
new to me. So, Dennis, a couple of things. We'll have some noise, but, you know, McClellan did send 5th Corps troops across this bridge, suffering more casualties than the actual attempt to cross Burnside Bridge, but they got turned back, like you said, because of Lee's strong position on what we call Cemetery Hill.
Yeah, right. The fighting did not occur here, but it was almost a mile to our west.
Ooh, and if I may, if I can say this, so here is also the site of an extensive photographic series by Alexander Gardner showing this bridge from both sides, from above, from below, and in one of them there is a woman on a boat, I believe, or 2 women in a boat right here, and there's another one showing that boat and other people. So here we are at this in Alexander Gardner's 1862 photographs here.
Let's turn around and take a look at it.
Yeah, I agree.
Gardner had a whole lot better view. Hey,
And there's our land-based crew.
Gardner had a whole lot better view of this bridge than we do from down here.
Yes, indeed. You know, also while we're here, Dennis, Abraham Lincoln is known to cross this bridge, right?
Undoubtedly. October 4th, 1862, President Lincoln had come out here to review the Army, to commend McClellan, to congratulate the Army for its great victory. And October the 4th was his last day here. He had arrived on the 2nd. He had spent 2 days reviewing the Army. He had met with McClellan. And then on the 4th, it was time to go back to Washington. And before he left, he would have crossed this bridge going from our left to our right so that he could meet with General Hooker. General Hooker had been badly wounded near the Dunker Church. He wanted to meet with General Richardson, who was badly wounded in front of the Bloody Lane. And they were both being treated at the Frye House, which had been one of McClellan's headquarters during the battle. And so this would have been the route to the Frye House. And he had personal escort with General McClellan.
And from what I knew, I read it in Cowie or Hartwig's book, that Lincoln wanted coffee, but none was to be had, so he was able to get some spring water from a house to the east of the bridge. I can't remember which of the books had that.
In an army that lived on coffee, he couldn't find coffee.
Give him a little taste of like what the South was going through.
And Gary, you and Dennis are going to have a challenge here. I'm going to go down first. I'm going to bounce off a couple of rocks straight down the middle, and then I'm going to get stuck on this big rock in the middle. I am your target, so you try and run me over. I'm going to stand on that rocker right there, because the move here is zig left, zig right. So I'm going to be right on that rock, on that zig left, and then as soon as you go by me, you're going to get back out in the middle. Middle, left, middle is the key to make this. Yeah, most people just get flushed into the big rock and stuck, and broached and flipped. And so I'm your target, and I'm setting safety here for you guys. So I'm sacrificing Kris for you, Dennis.
Speak well of me.
Before we go down there, I got a question, Gary. Since you've spent quite a bit of your professional career studying Civil War photography, you've been very active with the Civil War Photography Society, and you've done a great work in identifying where many of these photographs were taken. Why do you think Gardner was so fascinated with this particular site? What do you think brought forth his interest in all these photographs that he took here at the Middle Bridge?
Well, I'll go back to what my mentor, William Frazanito, sort of speculated. You know, once the dead were buried and the hospital had been photographed, that's when he started recording something like 21 photos of the Burnside, the now Burnside, and the Middle Bridge. And he took them from all over the place here. I also think he was interested in the sort of landscape and the pastoral nature of what he saw around him here. And then, of course, some of the do-gooders and visitors were showing up here. I can only think that he ran out of what became his typical sort of subject matter and then went for the beauty angle.
He became an artist of a different form.
Correct.
Instead of an artist who was showing the dead, he became an artist of the living.
Or you could say, instead of a documentary photographer, he became a landscape photographer. Instead of being a photojournalist, you know, he became something else. Great. I'll take any photographic questions, especially before we go to this difficult spot and maybe dunk. So we'll see.
So this was known as the Orndorff Bridge,
Yes.
also because there was a large mill here, a large grist mill, and I spoke earlier about if you wanted to get rich in the Antietam Valley, own a grist mill and make flour out of wheat. This was one of the largest mills right here. And so we're going to be going through the ruins of a dam. And that's one reason why this is so difficult. It's not only a rapid, but there would have been a dam here historically, a large dam, that would have backed this up. And so at the time that Gardner was here, this water would have been much deeper at this point.
And of course, Newcomer's house and the barn and a lot of this is photographed by Gardner.
Yes. Yeah, Newcomer was the name of the family that owned it after Orndorff. And so historically known as Orndorff's Mill, because when the bridge was built, the Middle Bridge, the Orndorff family owned and operated the mill, and then it became Newcomer's. And of course, as Gary points out, if you look at any of the Battlefield era maps, this is referred to as Newcomer's Mill or the Newcomer Farm.
Was it the destination of Sunken Road, the mill?
I was just going to bring it up. Is that why it's sunken? Some would suggest it is.
Well, there's no question that one reason the Sunken Road got so much usage was people bringing their goods over here to this mill for fabrication from wheat into flour.
And without paying a toll.
Without paying the toll on the turnpikes.
And off to the right there, you'll see the mill chase right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna go down the main part, and you can see that big giant rock,
Yep.
that square rock.
So we're going to go to it and port round
That's
it.
where I'm aiming.
Okay.
You're gonna bounce off a rock or two in between here and there,
Okay,
but I'm your target, that rock is your target,
okay.
and then it's zig left and back out into the current. That's your
And you
crux move.
want Gary paddling hard, right?
Well, yeah, I want to say in control.
Okay.
So I want you to have a blade in the water.
Okay.
And I want you to be using your hips, because boom, you're going to hit a rock.
All right.
Boom, you're going to hit a
Dennis
rock.
is going to steer.
If
Let's
you
let them
keep
get ahead.
momentum, you will make it. If you stop paddling, you will flip.
Hey, Kris, before we leave here, note this elevation to your left. This is the Union side of the creek. Once again, it would be ideal for General McClellan to defend this position. If he wanted to hold the Middle Bridge against a possible attack by the Confederates, he has a superb position of elevation here. We have not seen anywhere on our trip an elevation this high. These cliffs here, these heights here, are even higher than those at Burnside Bridge.
It's like Stafford Heights at Fredericksburg. This
Yeah,
is the real
Stafford
deal.
Heights at Fredericksburg.
All right, man, you ready for this one?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. This
Yeah.
is where a lot of people
We haven't
flip.
dumped yet, dude.
This is where a lot of
This,
people
it
flip.
could be here. You might get it.
Yeah, this is
Here, we got to
this
give him
is a
more
good one.
space, right?
This is a tough one.
Because he's going to get out on that rock, right? And
Yeah,
help
he's
us.
going to get out.
So let's.
we want to kind of hang back a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a place where I've traditionally had trouble with people getting stuck and then running into people and crashing into people. So that's why I'm going to set safety down here on these rocks, because they will bounce off of this one dead ahead right here. And I'm going to just squeeze between them right here. That's the move right there, and we'll get stuck right here. Yep, perfect, right where I want to be.
So he's gonna.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right, you're gonna be paddling. I'm gonna be guiding.
Okay. Okay.
Relax, put it in reverse just a little bit. Not so much yet, Dennis.
Nope.
Good deal. All right, I got you. Right up. Oh, I still got you.
Okay.
I still got you. I'm going to take it to the right of that rock.
Okay.
And now you're clear.
Good job.
That's the move.
Thank you, sir.
Let's just keep going.
That was actually close.
Just keep on going. Just keep on paddling.
Here we got a little
Yep, keep
thing
on
here.
paddling. Keep on paddling. Keep on paddling.
Wow.
Okay, we're gonna go to the right here. We're gonna go to the right.
Okay.
Put your paddle in and stop. That's good, good, good. Just put your paddle in and stop. Keep it in right there.
I don't want to go fully sideways.
Yep.
Looks like we're hitting land.
That's what we want to do. Perfect. Excellent. Woo!
That was close.
Woo! Now you know why he was standing on that rock.
Yeah, we might have had some real trouble without him.
That's a tough position there. That's a place where a lot of people dump.
Yeah.
On previous tours that I've done with lots of groups, that is a...
Dude, I'm glad to
we
have you
often
in the back
sit here
here.
and wait because canoe after canoe after canoe goes in the drink right there.
Hello, this is Trace Atkins. Get inspired at battlefields.org.